Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about a real world sort of situation of when we were at the office of a client, and again, this is a situation, this is a business I have a share in, where we're subcontracting to a master contractor, and we're doing some specialist technical work for the client here. So there's three of us at this stage of the project. There's three of us there. We're all straight white males. All and one guy's turned 60 and two of us in 50s. We're all credentialed, sort of a high achievers type thing, and have the expertise that this organisation lacks, and probably couldn't get together or even focus it and supervise it anyway. So now it's a decent sized outfit, and they do have quite a lot of sort of government contracts, and their workforce reflects that makeup. So wherever you have either 100% or nearly 100% government funding, or 100% government contracts, that is, the business relies completely on orders from the government. Wherever you see one or both of those things in play, then you're going to have a very woke workforce, shot through and chock full of affirmative action hires and race gender quotas and so on. So that's just how it is. The more you move away to the private sector, and the more competitive it gets in the private sector, then by extension, the less reliant you are on government orders or anything like that, then the more you'll find, or rather the less you'll find affirmative action hires and so on. Anyway, so we're in there now. I've noticed probably over the last 12 months or so, and I've probably seen this maybe a bit more because I'm getting more involved in things on the front line, but where we get summoned to a diversity, equity, inclusion sort of training course, orientation course, or something like that. A bit like, say, what might have been like a work safety course on a building site, that type of thing. But instead, it's an ideological gig, and usually there's quite a radical activist that's running the course, and it's really the same thing. Evil straight white males, and everyone else is virtuous by the extent of their victim points. So the proverbial one-legged black lesbian is the most virtuous you can get, and so on. Now, we can, subcontractors of the subcontractors, we can typically bypass all of that, and we don't have to go. A direct employee would have to go to that sort of thing. Or a master contractor would say have people that may specialise in that. They'd have their special equity officer or something, and the equity officer could go, and that would tick the box, and that would be the end of it. But increasingly now, organisations assessing anyone that comes into their office or even works remotely and does any work that may be related to their functioning must also have some sort of diversity, equity, inclusion propaganda thrust upon them, and I'm seeing this more and more. And it varies in how it's delivered, but not by much. And nor is it different in the sort of people that deliver it, the people that are tasked with pushing the diversity, equity, inclusion propaganda and so on. So you can look at entire HR departments, and diversity and equity is either a subset of like an offshoot or a sub-department of HR, or increasingly it's its own department. So you have the vice president of equity or something in these organisations. Sounds insane, and they're not picking people of of outstanding ability to do this. That if you want to sort of get an image of some snotty child femi tyrant, there. So they may be in their 20s, but they act like they're sort of 12 years old and dripping with attitude with that. So So here's a real sort of world example. So we're in the three of us, again, two guys, in the 50s, one guy just turned 60, and we're in the office there, and they've given us like a little cubby hole thing to work from, and then somebody comes around, a youngish woman, probably, I don't know, 25, and she's one of these diversity, equity, inclusion type people, an affirmative action hire and so on. I think, she was white, this girl, and straight, I guess. I don't know. Didn't seem butchy. And anyway, she says, you have to go, and says it in very imperious tones. There's no attempt to be polite, and excuse me, Mr. Smith. I've been asked to relay a message to you. Can you please attend the meeting? There's no attempt at that. Somebody appears, and then she appears, and then talks to us as if we're children being told to go to the headmaster or headmistress of the school or something. No attempt to talk to us either politely or with even the slightest hint or sign of respect or kindness or gentleness or anything like that. It's we're being spoken to as if we were criminals about to be prosecuted. It's that sort of tone. Now maybe I'm sort of I was concerned maybe I'm reading into it because of what I'm doing with these videos. None of my colleagues know about what I do, by the way, or these videos at least. So later on, I noticed they both were saying the same thing. So they held the same view or had arrived at the same conclusion about things as I had. So I was concerned maybe I was just sort of, over emotionalizing a little bit or something. But no, if anything, I'm understating it. So anyway, so we're told we have to go to somebody in the HR department who turns out to be like some mid-level manager. Now, just consider the way that's done. We've got our own contact that we're working of, like the liaison officer, I suppose you'd call it. So we've got our own so this HR person, or whoever wants to talk to us, all they do is go to the liaison thing, and we sit down and we arrange a meeting time, and who's going to go and who needs to be at the meeting, all this sort of stuff. So we arrange it through the liaison. They know who the liaison is. So when the person, we want, you have to go over and talk to the HR. And so we referred them to the liaison officer so we could, no, you have to go, and you have to go now. And it wasn't a request; it was issued as an order, almost like if it was it was a demand, it was a command. You are commanded to go. And why would the person that was supposed to not call us themselves or come around themselves? So they've sent a flunky around to which is a demonstration of their power, and that those sort of petty little tyrannical power maneuvers are very common in places like this. Everyone's trying to demonstrate their power, and as they actually have no sort of managerial power as such, that they have great power in compelling you to attend an anti-Nazi training course or something. So they have sort of a strange form of moral power that exists only in the wokerati insane universe. It's not power in any legitimate sense. It's the power to call you a Nazi if you don't do as you're told. It's that sort of power. So anyway, so as we referred them to the liaison officer. Don't care about the liaison officer. We don't operate through them. You're commanded to go and do this. So we looked, and the other two guys had more to do than me. So I got up to well, I'll go and see what's happening. And it's almost as if this was sort of, if she was instructed, because she just seemed to be operating under instruction as to, and if they do this, you do that. And if they say this, you say that. It seemed to be that. So it's almost like it was, there seemed to be an air of choreography about it. Or it's the sort of thing that they do all the time, and therefore it's they've got some experience at doing this. So I got up to go. She's, no, all of you. Again, the wave of the hand and the finger point, and And again, it was a command. Yeah. So here's this 23, 24-year-old, 25 tops year old, girl who I imagine this is the first job she's ever had, and she's just a ideological sort of fanatic type. The people that would go and wave placards and scream about climate change, the world's going to end, and that sort of thing. So she's commanded us to do that. So we sort of, you and I, when you're in these situations, what do? Do you just say, look, fuck off, you silly little shithead bimbos? I mean, what do you do? It's a client, you're representing sort of another contractor further up the financial food chain. You don't want to embarrass them. You don't want to put them in a difficult position, which may compromise future business relations with them. You don't want to go along either because you're not required to. There's nothing in the contract that we've signed that says we're required to do this. So why do we want to do it? Do we want to argue? It's no point in arguing with the little ideological bimbo standing in front of us. She doesn't know any of that. She's been told do this. Go and get those Nazis to come up. So that's and she's there. She is the morally on the high ground here. We are the Nazis. She is the one fighting back against the Nazis, and her head is filled with this ideological madness, and she doesn't have the brain power to sort of get around it. So anyway, I get interested rather enjoying, you straight white men may sort of, you're the Nazis running the world, but in here we're in charge and we're going to tell you. And it's very much that, and that sort of vibe. So anyway, we thought, okay, let's get this done and out the way. So I said, okay, well, what is it they want to, talk about? And they'll tell you when you get there. This, but again, no attempt to be polite or anything like that. So anyway, we get to the HR. Again, it's somebody maybe a year or two older, if that. And this is a bit of a well-worn thing now. It's not unusual that this or a similar or close variation of it is something we come across quite a bit now. And so the HR lady who could be ideologically, the twin sister of the first woman who came along, sort of gave us an imperious up and down glance. She's way out of a league here. She's trying to do the heavies, like I'm in charge around here and you do what I say, you damn Nazis, and that sort of thing. So again, no effort to be polite or so on, and insisting that we have to go to a diversity, equity, inclusion. I'm not sure I'd call it a training course, familiarity orientation thing that they're running and have to go. So anyway, fortunately, I carry around a copy of the contract that we've signed. I've learned to do this so that invariably when people like her and those sort of people appear demanding you do this, that, say, well, look, it's not in our contract. It's not what we've agreed to. And so I said, well, look, it's not in, I said, look, it's actually not in the contract. So if you want us to do this, then we need to amend the contract to reflect that. So this wasn't expected. Now, again, the look on the face was close to shock. You mean someone's talking back, someone's saying no, or someone's saying, well, we've got our conditions as well. It's not just your conditions. So that clearly this woman who, again, talking in very imperious, school mistress terms, school mum, terms, as if talking to children. And I assume that's how she's spoken to. I mean, why would you want to treat anyone, given her age, why would you want to treat anybody? I mean, what happened to basic manners and courtesies and these sorts of things? The view she seemed to be anything even approaching good manners was a submission to the Nazis, and she wasn't going to submit to the Nazis. And she didn't use the word Nazis, by the way, but that was the thing. She's hopelessly insecure, not very bright, affirmative action hire. Again, I would suggest the first job ever in her life. So why she's trying to do the big imperious tyrannical finger wag crap on us is beyond me. Why you'd even want to do it, let alone. But she seems to think I have to do it. I have to fight the Nazis. And So, in return, though, we have to be very careful and we have to be polite and attempt to look and sound respectful and so on. So I said, look, it's not in the contract. And she was quite shocked, sort of didn't know what to do, and came back sort of trying to say, well, her attitude was, well, I'll just give them a double dose of moral power. I don't care about the country. You have to do it. Finger point, and the tone of the voice becomes even more acid. And so I pull out the contract. No, look, it's not in the contract. So I hold up the contract and say, look, this is a legal document. Okay, this is a legal document. Your organisation and my organisation has signed this. It's a legal document, and in it is the agreement of what we're going to do and what we're required to do, and what both parties are required to do and obligated to under the law. Any disputes here will have to be dealt with in a court of law in front of a judge. So it's not in there, and we're not required to do it. Whatever we do in this regard is purely courtesy. But if we're required to do it, as you're suggesting, then then we need to make an amendment. So she comes back as these snot-nosed little tyrants typically do. It's our policy. It's our policy, and you have to do it. And these little idiots, they think that policy transcends and trumps the law. The law is irrelevant. It's our policy that matters. It's our moral position that matters. Fuck the law. So I mean, again, being a bit of a stickler for details, so can you show me that policy? I'd like to see it. If that's the policy, then it's in writing. I'd like to see it. So again, this was another shock. She almost went as white as a sheet. Obviously not used to this. This may be the first time, and this isn't pushback. This is just, can you verify? Can you show me this policy? And she couldn't. And so, well, it doesn't matter if it's a policy. You have to do it because you're not allowed to come in here unless you've done that diversity, equity, inclusion thing. So, well, again, reminder, this is the contract. Now, we're already here, and we've already, allowed, satisfied all the requirements to be on. So if you're now introducing another criteria, we have to rewrite this contract. Now, the only person who has the authority to do that is the chief operations officer, or whoever was that we signed that one with. So we really need to bring them into this meeting and get them to verify that this is the policy, is a requirement. And then we need to redo the contract to reflect that. So let's get them in the meeting. Oh no, I'm in charge of this. So anyway, I could go back in but the tyrannical attitude here. We can command you to do it because we have some sort of undefined moral superiority, and we can compel you, you damn Nazis, that sort of thing. No, not having that. Now, I just decided, sort of fairly recently, not prepared to put up with it. If that's something you want to enter into the contract, fine. Otherwise, we will invoice you separately, and we'll send as many of our people to this equity course or orientation as we can fit in, and we're going to charge you $1,000 for each person that sits in it. Suck on that. But unless you're prepared to pay us for doing it or included in the original contract, then we're not prepared to be ordered about it any time to go here and go there. I didn't explain it that way. I used much softer language than that, but that was the upshot. So in the end, they rather with noses in the air and double dripping attitude, they backed off and let it go. But again, it just demonstrates the tyrannical and arbitrary nature of how they throw their weight around and try and act tough in their silly little games of sending people to tell you have to go there. Then the next person dresses you down and finger wags you and then tells you have to go over there. And you're all being passed around to all these power mad, snot-nosed child bimbos, and you're acting like children. I mean, the HR lady, as we pushed back with basic stuff, it's not in the contract. Can you show me the policy in writing? She was near, she got to the point where just on this, she was near, in panic, absolute panic. She's in a state of panic. Her gambit of moral superiority, bullying, and it was bullying. Let's call it what it is. Hadn't paid off, and she was in a terrible state over this. And I thought she was going to sort of fall on the floor and have a fit or something the way she was looking. But this is, I think I think we all need to push back against this. And when you say, can you show me the policy in writing? Can you refer to it? You claim it's policy. If it's policy, it must therefore be in writing. And little things like, it's still, the policy still in a discussion group or something. Well, then it can't be a policy by definition. This sort of thing. Now they try and turn it around so you're the one being difficult. This proves that you're a Nazi because you won't do what we tell you. This sort of thing. So no. What does the law require? And if the policy is there in writing, is it included in the agreement? Start training yourself to respond in this way, and force them to produce codified evidence that what they're demanding and attempting to compel you to do is legal, it does exist in writing, and so on and so forth. Now, ignorance about something isn't necessarily a defence, but where you have any sort of legal agreement or requirement. For example, if you have to attend a diversity, equity, inclusion course, you have a right to see what that course is, the details of it, and you have a right to be a legal right to be advised. So that's a condition of entry. Then that has to be stated. There has to be a sign up, and that sort of thing. So it has to be on their website and so on. So now they can't do these things. They operate in this strange sort of moral hinterland where they can compel you to do something, or think they can compel you to do something on the basis, well, if you don't do this, you must be a Nazi, rather than saying, this is for the benefit of all of us. Here it is in writing, and here it is in the website, and here it is as a sign on the front door, that sort of thing. And that they don't want to do that, because once they start going down the path of clearly codified, regulations, laws, policies, then that equally binds them. It binds them as much as it binds the other party once something's clearly codified. And they want a situation where you're morally compelled to do things, otherwise you're a Nazi, but they're not compelled, they're not bound to any conditions or rules. They can act arbitrarily and just simply determine the rules as they go along. And this is what we need to push back against, because it's all over, whether it be in media or corporate governance, and definitely this diversity, equity, inclusion thing. You've been with Taskless today, your Pushback Channel. Thank you for listening.